You tried everything to get them back. You begged, you explained, you gave them space, you checked in, you apologized for things that were not even your fault. And every single time you reached out, they pulled further away, further and further, until one day you looked up and realized you were chasing a ghost, someone who was right there but completely gone. And here is the part nobody tells you. The more you chased, the more you confirmed exactly what they feared, and the more they felt justified in pulling away. But what if there was a way to flip that entire dynamic? What if the very thing that makes an avoidant run could be reversed? Not through manipulation, not through games, but through something so precise, so psychologically calibrated, that it bypasses every wall they have ever built? There is a method. It is called the soft contact method. And when you use it correctly on someone with avoidant attachment, something almost unbelievable starts to happen. They start reachy, going back. Comment the word soft right now if you want to know exactly how this works step by step. Here is what nobody in your life is going to tell you. The avoidant person in your life is not cold because they do not feel. They are cold because they feel too much and they have no idea what to do with it. That is the secret that changes everything. And once you understand it at a cellular level, once it gets into your bones, you will never approach an avoidant the same way again. Not ever. So let us start at the beginning. Let us start with who you are dealing with. The avoidant attachment style does not come from nowhere. It never does. Somewhere in childhood, probably very early, this person learned a devastating lesson. They learned that needing someone leads to pain. They learned that depending on another person is dangerous. They learned that the safest thing they could ever do was to handle everything alone, to feel nothing too deeply, to never let anyone get close enough to. Oh, hurt them. Now think about what that does to a child. Think about what that does to a developing nervous system. Because what happens is, over years and years and years of conditioning, the avoidant brain literally rewires itself. It starts to associate closeness with threat. It starts to associate intimacy with danger. It starts to link love with the feeling of suffocation. So when you come along loving them, wanting them, needing them, expressing your feelings openly, what do you think their nervous system does? It sounds an alarm, a deep, primal, biological alarm that says danger, get out, too close, too much, retreat, retreat, retreat. And they do, every time. Not because of you, not because you are not enough, but because their entire nervous system has been trained to do exactly that. This is the part most people miss. And missing it is why most people fail to reconnect with an avoidant. Because they keep trying to outfeel the avoidant. They keep turning up the emotional volume. They keep expressing more, demanding more, needing more. And every single escalation just confirms what the avoidant already believes, that relationships are overwhelming, that you are too much, that being with you means losing themselves. So the soft contact method does something completely different. It does not escalate. It does not press. It does not demand or beg or explain or justify. Instead, it does something the avoidant has almost never experienced in their entire life. It makes them feel safe. And when an avoidant feels safe, something extraordinary happens. But before we get there, you need to understand the landscape you are operating in. Because this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. There are different types of avoidance, and knowing which type you are dealing with changes your approach entirely. The first type is what we call the dismissive avoidant. This is the person who genuinely believes they do not need anyone. They have built their entire identity around self-sufficiency. They are proud of it. They wear it like armor. They will tell you, I am just not an emotional person, or I do not need a relationship to feel whole, or I have always been better on my own. And they believe every word of it. They have convinced themselves so thoroughly that the walls they built for protection have become a personality. The dismissive avoidant will pull away at the first sign of real intimacy. They will create distance in 1,000 tiny ways. They will get busy. They will seem distracted. They will downplay the relationship. They will never quite fully show up. And when you call them on it, they will genuinely not understand what you are talking about, because they have buried the wound so deep they cannot even see it anymore. The second type is the fearful avoidant. Some people call this type the anxious avoidant because this person is a walking contradiction. They want love desperately. They crave it. They feel lonely and isolated, and they yearn for real connection. But the moment they get close to someone, the terror kicks in, because getting close means being vulnerable, and being vulnerable means being hurt. And being hurt is the one thing they have sworn to never let happen again. So the fearful avoidant pushes and pulls. They come close, then they run. They say, I love you, and then they disappear for 3 days. They are hot and cold, present and absent, all in and completely checked out, and they hate themselves for it. They do not understand why they keep doing this. They want to stop. But the pattern is so deep and so old that it runs completely on autopilot. Now here is why this matters for the soft contact method. The approach you use on a dismissive avoidant is slightly different from what you use on a fearful avoidant. But the core principles remain exactly the same. And those core principles are what we are going to go through right now, step by step, piece by piece, until you have a complete picture of how his works and why it works. Let us start with the first and most fundamental principle: disappear before they do. This sounds counterintuitive. You want them back. You want them close. Why would you disappear? But here is the psychological reality of what happens when you disappear from an avoidance life. Because of the way their brain is wired, because of the way they have structured their entire self-concept around not needing people, the moment you stop being available, something they did not expect starts to happen. They start to miss you. Now, this is not the same missing that you feel. When you miss someone, you want to reach out, you want to connect, you want to close the gap. When an avoidant misses someone, they often do not even recognize what they are feeling. They might feel a vague sense of restlessness. They might find themselves thinking about you randomly during their day. They might notice something that reminds them of you and feel a small ache they cannot quite know. Aim. They might pick up their phone to text you and then put it back down because they do not understand the impulse. But the feeling is there. And the longer you give them the space to feel it without the pressure of your pursuit, the more that feeling grows. The reason this works is simple. Avoidants regulate their emotions through distance. When you are too close, their nervous system is in a constant state of alarm. Every text from you triggers a need to manage their anxiety. Every call is a demand their system cannot easily meet. Every expression of need or love or desire for connection registers as pressure. And pressure is the one thing that sends them deeper into withdrawal. But when you disappear, when you stop texting, stop calling, stop showing up in their notifications, stop being the persistent reminder of emotional demand, their nervous system finally gets to exhale. The alarm goes quiet, the pressure lifts, and in that quiet, in that relieved space, your absence starts to take on a completely different quality. You stop being the source of their anxiety, and you start becoming the person they are thinking about. This is the first phase of the soft contact method, and it is non-negotiable. You cannot skip it. You cannot rush it. You have to actually disappear, not as a game, not as manipulation, but as a genuine, committed decision to stop pursuing someone who runs from being pursued. This is not about making them jealous. This is about removing the pressure that keeps them running. How long should this phase last? It depends. If you were together for a short time, a few weeks at minimum. If this was a longer relationship, a month to 6 weeks is more appropriate. And during this time, you are not sitting home waiting. You are actually building your life. You are doing things that genuinely matter to you. You are reconnecting with who you were before this relationship became the center of your universe. Because here is the thing, the version of you that was chasing, begging, over-explaining, that version is not attractive to an avoidant or to anyone. The version of you that is whole, grounded, occupied, living, that version is magnetic. So phase 1 is distance. Real, genuine, non-strategic distance. And everything that comes after depends on whether you have actually done this correctly. Now let us talk about phase 2, the first contact. This is the moment people get most wrong. They wait. They sit in the silence. They do their work. And then when they finally decide to reach out, they blow it. They reach out with something emotionally loaded, something heavy, something that puts the avoidant immediately back into threat mode. I have been thinking about you. I miss you. Can we talk? Do you think there is any chance for us? I still love you. Every single one of those messages, no matter how genuine, no matter how heartfelt, lands on the avoidant like a demand, like a weight, like a door swinging open too fast and too wide. And the avoidance response is automatic and immediate. They shut the door. The soft contact method does the opposite. When you make first contact, it must be completely pressure-free. It must ask nothing of them emotionally. It must make no reference to the relationship, the breakup, the feelings, the past, any of it. And it must be so light, so casual, so easy to respond to that it would feel stranger to ignore it than to reply. Here are some examples of what that looks like in practice. You see something that genuinely, authentically reminds you of them, something specific and real, and you send a simple, single message about it. Not a paragraph, not an explanation, not a setup for a deeper conversation. Just a small, specific, genuine observation. Something like, saw this book you mentioned once, finally picked it up, you were right about it. That is it. Done. No question at the end asking how they are. No follow-up. No ellipsis leaving the door open for a heavy conversation. January. That. Or it might be something like, there was a documentary on last night about that thing you always talked about. Had to watch it. It was actually really good. Simple, specific, real, and completely free of emotional demand. Why does this work? Because it does several things simultaneously. It shows that you remember things about them, the real them, the things they care about, their interests, their personality, not just the relationship. It demonstrates that you are not reaching out from a place of desperation, but from a place of genuine, easy connection. And it creates a response moment that is low stakes enough for the avoidant to actually engage with. There is no emotional landmine in the message. There is no pressure. There is no demand hiding behind the words. It is just a moment of being reminded of them and sharing it without making it mean anything more than what it is. Now what happens next is critical. After you send that first message, you do not hover. You do not watch the read receipts. You do not send a follow-up if they do not respond in an hour. You send it and you go back to your life. You make it clear through your behavior, not your words, that you are genuinely not waiting on them. Because the avoidant can sense desperation from a mile away. They can feel it in the pace of your responses. They can hear it in how quickly you reply. They can see it in the fact that you are suddenly available the moment they are. So you be genuinely unavailable sometimes, not as a strategy, because you actually have a life. Let us talk about what happens when they respond, because they will respond. Maybe not immediately, maybe not even to the first message. But if you have done phase 1 correctly, if you have genuinely given them time and space and silence, and if your first contact is as light and pressure-free as it should be, most avoidants will eventually respond. Because their system is no longer in alarm mode, and the message you sent does not translate. Igor the defense mechanisms. It is too easy, too light, too real for that. When they do respond, this is phase 3, the re-engagement phase. And this is where most people throw everything away by pouncing. They have been waiting. They have been longing. And the moment the avoidant replies, everything comes flooding back. All the feelings, all the hope, all the desperation. And they respond to the avoidant's light reply with something that is 3 paragraphs long and emotionally loaded, and basically a signal that said, yes, I was waiting for this. Yes, I still want you. Yes, I need you. Please come back. And just like that, the avoidant is back in threat mode. The re-engagement phase requires a kind of discipline that goes against every natural instinct you have. When they respond, you match their energy. If they responded casually, you respond casually. If they kept it brief, you keep it brief. You do not go deeper than they go. You do not add weight to what they have made light. Why? Or meet them exactly where they are, and you hold that level with steady, easy confidence. You might have a few exchanges that are short and casual, and that is good. That is very good. Because what you are doing in these exchanges is reestablishing a connection that has no pressure attached to it. You are reminding them that talking to you feels easy, that you are not going to suddenly turn the conversation into an interrogation about where things went wrong and what they want and whether there is a future. You are showing them through every easy, confident, unhurried response that you are someone whose presence is comfortable rather than threatening. This is deeply unfamiliar to the avoidant, because in their experience, closeness always comes with a cost, always. The moment someone gets close, the demands start, the needs surface, the pressure builds. It is so predictable to them that they have stopped expecting anything else. So when you show up and the closeness does not come with the A cost, when you are warm but not needy, present but not pressing, interested but not demanding, it genuinely confuses them in the best possible way. Their system does not know how to categorize you, and in that confusion, curiosity grows. Now let us go deeper into what is happening in their psychology during this re-engagement phase, because understanding this will help you stay the course when every instinct is telling you to push harder. The avoidant's internal world during re-engagement is a constant negotiation between the part of them that wants connection and the part of them that is terrified of it. These two parts are always at war. And the thing that determines which one wins is usually the level of pressure they feel. High pressure means the fear wins. Low pressure means the desire for connection has more room to breathe. By showing up the way the soft contact method instructs, you are essentially tilting the conditions in favor of connection. You are making the connection. Tian feels safe enough that the fear does not need to sound the alarm quite as loudly. And every positive interaction you have, every exchange that ends without drama, without pressure, without demand, is evidence that your avoidance nervous system starts to collect. Evidence that says maybe this is different, maybe this is safe. Maybe I do not need to run. The accumulation of this evidence is slow. It is not linear. There will be times when they pull back again, times when they go quiet for a few days. And when that happens, you have to resist the urge to interpret it catastrophically. You have to resist the urge to reach out immediately and try to fix the silence. Because the silence is not the problem. Your response to the silence is either going to confirm or disconfirm everything they believe about whether you are safe to be close to. When they go quiet, you go quiet too. Not as punishment, not as a game, but because you genuinely do not panic when someone who is always needed. Space takes some space. Because you are grounded enough in yourself that their distance does not destabilize you. This grounded non-reactivity is perhaps the single most attractive quality you can display to an avoidant, because it is the one thing they have never experienced from someone who wanted them. Everyone who has ever wanted them has eventually made the distance mean something terrible and responded accordingly. Your refusal to do that sets you apart in a way that is almost incomprehensible to them at first. Let us talk about communication style during this phase, because it matters enormously. Everything you say, the way you say it, the length, the tone, the timing, all of it is information the avoidant is processing, whether consciously or not. They are assessing whether you are going to suddenly shift the dynamic. They are watching for the moment the pressure returns. They are waiting, even while they do not want to be waiting, for the other shoe to drop. So your communication. Ion needs to have certain qualities consistently. It needs to be warm without being effusive. You can be kind and genuinely interested without being overwhelming. It needs to be concise, not cold, not clipped, but concise. Long messages signal emotional investment in a way that can trigger the avoidance defenses. It needs to be free of subtext. No messages that seem like they are about one thing but are really asking something else. Avoidants are incredibly good at detecting subtext, and it immediately makes them feel manipulated, even when no manipulation is intended. And it needs to be confident. Confidence comes through in the absence of follow-ups, in the lack of over-explanation, in the steady calm of someone who knows their own worth and is not begging for anything. Now there is another element of the soft contact method that is absolutely crucial, and it is the one element that most people resist the most. And that is genuine detachment from the outcome. This is not fake detachment, NT. This is not the kind of detachment where you are secretly obsessing over whether they like you while pretending not to care. True detachment means that you have genuinely reckoned with the possibility that this person may never be ready for the kind of relationship you want, that they may always be limited by their attachment wounds in ways that mean they cannot show up fully for you. And you have made peace with that, not because you do not love them, but because you love yourself enough to know that you cannot build your happiness on the foundation of someone else's healing journey. This genuine detachment changes everything about how you show up, because when you are truly detached from the outcome, every interaction becomes easy. You are not performing. You are not managing them. You are not calculating every move. You are just being who you are, freely, without the weight of needing them to respond in a certain way. And that freedom is felt immediately by the avoidant. It is one of the most attractive energies they have ever encountered because it does not ask anything of them while simultaneously being completely real and completely present. Avoidants are used to people who want them too much. They have spent their whole lives being wanted in ways that feel consuming. So when someone shows up who is genuinely okay with however things turn out, who is warm and real and interested but not desperate, not clinging, not making the avoidant responsible for their emotional state, it is revolutionary for them. It does not compute. And in that incomprehension, something begins to shift. Let us talk about what you should never do during the soft contact method, because the don'ts are just as important as the das. Do not bring up the past in early re-engagement. Not the relationship, not the breakup, not the things that were said, not the ways you were hurt. None of it. Not until there is a solid, stable, re-established connection and both of you have clearly fed into a different territory. Bringing up the past in early contact is like pouring water on a fire you are trying to start. It takes everything that was building and extinguishes it immediately. Do not make future plans too early. Do not start talking about what things could look like. Do not hint at wanting to get back together. Do not ask if they still have feelings for you. These forward-looking, emotionally loaded conversations require a level of safety and trust that early re-engagement does not have yet. You have to build toward them. You cannot shortcut the building process. Do not be available every single time they reach out. This is hard. Because when someone you love starts reaching out again, every fiber of your being wants to be there, instantly, completely. But constant, instant availability signals to the avoidant that you have been waiting. And waiting signals desperation. And desperation signals to the avoidant that you need them in a way that will eventually be me demanding. So sometimes you respond hours later. Sometimes you are genuinely busy when they reach out and they have to wait. This is not cruelty. This is the authentic expression of someone who has a life that matters to them. Do not use guilt. Do not reference how hard the time apart was. Do not let them know how much you miss them, at least not early. Not because your feelings are wrong, but because expressing them too early puts the avoidant in the position of being responsible for your pain. And an avoidant who feels responsible for your pain will disappear faster than you can imagine. Do not be hot and cold yourself. Consistency is everything with avoidance. Not the suffocating consistency of someone who is always present and always available, but the grounded consistency of someone whose mood and energy are stable, who is warm one day and warm the next, who does not blow up at them and then apologize and then blow up again. That kind of inconsistency triggers the avoidant. Deepest fears about relationships being dangerous. Your stability is your greatest asset. Now let us talk about something that does not get discussed enough in conversations about reconnecting with avoidance, and that is the difference between patterns and behavior. Because when you start reconnecting with an avoidant, you will quickly notice that their patterns are still there. They will still sometimes go quiet. They will still sometimes seem distant even when things are going well. They will still have moments where they seem to pump the brakes just when you feel like things are progressing. These patterns are not a sign that the method is not working. These patterns are the method doing exactly what it should do. Because what you are not doing is reacting to those patterns the way everyone else in their life has. You are not escalating when they go quiet. You are not interpreting the distance as rejection. You are not letting the normal rhythms of an avoidant person destabilize you. And every time you hold steady when someone else would panic, you are showing the avoidant something they have never seen before. Someone who can handle who they actually are. The behavior is what you watch. Not just their words, not just whether they text back, but what they actually do over time. Are the contacts getting more frequent? Are the conversations getting a little longer, a little warmer, a little more personal? Are they starting to initiate rather than just respond? Are they referencing shared memories, shared experiences, shared humor? Are they bringing you into their internal world a little bit at a time? These are the signs that the soft contact method is working. They are subtle, they are slow, but they are real. Now let us address the elephant in the room. Because some of you reading this are dealing with an avoidant who has truly pulled away. Not just going quiet for a week, but genuinely ending things, blocking, cutting off, going complete no contact on our end. And you are wondering if the soft contact method can even reach someone who has done that. The answer is yes, but it requires modifications and it requires a greater patience than most people have. When someone has genuinely cut off contact, the disappearance phase is not optional, it is mandatory, and it is likely longer. You are not just giving them space, you are giving them enough time for the alarm in their nervous system to fully quiet. And alarms that have been ringing for months take time to go silent. There is no shortcut here. During this time, if you have any mutual connections, you do not use them to send messages. You do not ask friends to put in a good word. You do not like their posts from a friend's account or find any indirect way to communicate that you are still there. Any of these behaviors confirm the avoidance belief that you will not respect their boundaries and will pursue them regardless of what they signal. It justifies their withdrawal, what you did. Instead is build the most genuinely compelling version of your life that you can, not for them, for you. But here is the reality. People with avoidant attachment are highly attuned to signals of genuine strength and independence, because those are the qualities they have trained themselves to value above everything. When they eventually, inevitably see your life through social media or mutual friends or whatever form of information reaches them, what they see should be someone who is genuinely doing well, not performing wellness, actually well, occupied, engaged, grounded, interesting. Because here is the truth about avoidance that almost nobody will say out loud. They do not pursue people who need them, but they will move mountains for someone they genuinely feel they might lose. The dismissive avoidant in particular, who has spent decades convincing themselves they need no one, is often undone by the one person who convinces them that they might actually need someone, not through need expressed, but through presence withdrawn, not through begging, but through becoming. When enough time has passed, when you have genuinely done the work on yourself, when you are not reaching out from a place of emptiness or desperation, but from a place of abundance, you make your soft contact, and it follows exactly the same principles: pressure-free, specific, real, light, with no subtext and no agenda. One more thing that is crucial about this entire process. You have to be honest with yourself about why you want this person back. Not the surface reason, not because you love them, that part is true, but the deeper reason. Are you pursuing them because being with them genuinely adds to your life and they bring something irreplaceable that no one else has? Or are you pursuing them because the rejection itself has become the addiction, because the chase has become more familiar than the possibility of a healthy connection? This distinction matters enormously, because if you are chasing the wound, if the avoidance unavailability is what makes them feel significant to you, if you would not want them nearly as much if they were suddenly completely available, then you have some attachment wiring of your own to look at. And no method in the world is going to build you a healthy relationship until you address that. The soft contact method is not a tool for getting someone back at any cost. It is a method rooted in genuine psychological understanding of how avoidant attachment works. And it is most powerful and most ethical when you use it to build something real, something based on an actual shift in dynamic rather than just getting close enough to repeat the same cycle. Because here is the thing about avoidance: even if this works, even if they come back, even if the soft contact method creates the conditions for re-engagement and they start moving toward you, the relationship will eventually face the same challenges that ended it before, unless something has gone genuinely changed, unless you have changed how you respond to their distance, unless they have, through whatever means, started to develop some awareness of their own patterns, unless there is something fundamentally different about the ground you are standing on. So use this method, use it correctly, but use it as the beginning of something, not as a magic trick to undo an ending. Use it to create a new starting point, a starting point where you are grounded and confident and whole, where you are not chasing and not begging and not collapsing into someone else's unavailability, where you show up as someone so genuinely alive and real and unfazed that the avoidance defenses simply have nothing to push against. Because you are not pushing, you are just existing, magnificently, fully, unapologetically existing. And that, more than any text, any conversation, any grand gesture, or perfectly worded apology, is what makes an avoidant turn around and walk back toward you. Not because you convinced them to, but because you became someone they could not stop thinking about, someone who felt different from everyone else they had ever run from, someone who made them wonder, for the first time maybe, what it might feel like to stop running. And that wondering is where everything begins. The soft contact method is not about getting someone back. It is about becoming the person that someone cannot imagine staying away from. And when you do it right, when you truly embody everything we have talked about today, you will not be wondering if they are going to come back. They will be wondering why they ever left,